watching the station covering all of the DMV. This is DC News Now.
Thank you for joining us on DC News Now. I'm Shanika Grimshaw. We're going to get to your top stories in just a minute. But first, we're dealing with DMV First Warn Day. Meteorologist Jackie Layer will tell us all about this extreme heat.
Yeah, we're talking about dangerous heat and humidity through the day today. Also sticking around tomorrow and Wednesday as well. So you do want to stay cool, stay hydrated, especially to the afternoon and evening hours during the height of that heat and humidity. So try to plan out the rest of your day today. Temperatures climbing upper 90s by noon. Heat index value is likely over 100 degrees by that point. Right around 100 degrees for the actual air temperature by 4 p.m. Feels like temperatures closing in on 110 for parts of the region. Sunset will be at 8:37 this evening, but by about 8 p.m. we're still holding into those middle 90s. Some heat alerts to talk about. Extreme heat warning until 9 p.m. tonight. As for D.C., Northern Virginia, Southern Maryland, the I-95 corridor as well. Back up towards Frederick, Hagerstown, the I-81 corridor too. Heat advisory. Those are the areas where we could be dealing with that heat index up to 105 degrees. Those are the areas shaded in orange. Now that extreme heat warning, those are the areas shaded in that magenta color. So again, stay cool, stay hydrated. But more details, timing out the rest of that 7-day forecast coming up.
All right, Jackie, thank you. New video from Saturday's attack on Iran. That includes the bombers who took part in the nighttime mission known as Operation Midnight Hammer. Raquel Martin reporting from Washington.
Brand new video shows the moment B-2 bombers returned to U.S. soil after carrying out strikes against 3 Iranian nuclear sites on Saturday.
The strikes were a spectacular military success.
President Donald Trump and most Republicans are rallying behind what they're calling Operation Midnight Hammer. The president approved the strikes Friday night and gave his defense secretary final approval Saturday morning.
President Trump has said from over 20 years, frankly, Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. Direct military action had to be taken.
President Trump is now pressuring Iranian officials to formally end their nuclear program.
If they do not, future attacks will be far greater and a lot easier.
But Democrats say the strike should not have happened without approval from Congress.
Congress should have been a full participant in this decision, and we were not at all.
Senator Jack Reed, the top Democrat on the Senate Armed Services Committee, says the Trump administration risked a larger war.
We have to be very, very careful that we don't, in fact, start a regional conflict.
Protests around the country are calling for the U.S. to stay out of Iran. Iran insists their nuclear sites are merely damaged and vowed to retaliate.
It will show its dignity, strength, and greatness to the world.
Former Biden Pentagon spokesperson Chris Marr says tens of thousands of U.S. troops in the Middle East are now in danger.
We have a lot of assets. We have a lot of defensive capabilities, and we should fully expect that Iran will attack those assets.
And local lawmakers reacting to the weekend strikes on Iran. Maryland Senator Chris Van Hollen released a statement on X Saturday saying, quote, Trump said he would end wars, and now he has dragged America into one. His actions are a clear violation of our Constitution. He went on to say the U.S. intelligence community has repeatedly assessed that Iran is not building a nuclear weapon, and there was more time for diplomacy to work. Now, Trump is yet again betraying Americans by embroiling the United States directly in this conflict. And meantime, Governor Glenn Youngkin threw in his support on the strike, saying, quote, President Donald Trump meant what he has said over and over again. Iran must never have a nuclear weapon. Promises made, promises kept. And D.C. officials reacting to the Department of Homeland Security issued an advisory warning of a heightened threat environment across the country. And D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser says she's been briefed on coordinated efforts between D.C. and federal law enforcement. She says they're monitoring intelligence together and calling for people to stay vigilant. D.C. police says there's no credible threat to the district at this time, but they're upping their presence at religious institutions across the city. And they ask if you see something suspicious, contact them immediately. And take a look at your screen. You can see some demonstrators outside of the White House. These protesters speaking out against the strikes on Iran and against the collaboration with the Israeli government. Now, President Trump calling the attack successful in an attempt to stop Iran from having a nuclear weapon. Now, one protester telling us she believes this strike is built on lies and that a diplomatic approach should have been taken instead.
Trump has lied to the American people and he's lied to the Iranians about his seriousness with diplomacy. You cannot bomb your way into the negotiation table. There was a pathway that was peaceful and diplomatic, and he destroyed that last night.
Republican lawmakers split on the strike, with many saying it's an act of war and should have been approved by Congress. Developing now, a man shot in the district, and that was on the same block where D.C. police were actively investigating another shooting. The shootings happened on Martin Luther King Jr. Avenue near Malcolm X Avenue in Congress Heights. Police were called to investigate the first shooting at around 6:45 p.m. That was yesterday, and they found a man and a 16-year-old boy shot. Both were taken to the hospital. And then an hour later, officers responded to the sound of gunshots on the same block, and a man was found shot. He was also taken to the hospital. Police are investigating whether these shootings are connected. Also developing, D.C. police say 2 men were killed in a shooting in the Kingman Park neighborhood. That's in Northeast. This happened Sunday morning. Officers in the area reportedly heard gunshots coming from 19th and D Streets. That's where they found the men shot and not breathing. 30-year-old Quanzay Lynch and 41-year-old Courtney Burley died there. Right now, police don't have anyone in custody, and if you have any information, you are asked to contact police. All right, check this out. A scary sight on the National Mall. Saturday night, this Jeep got onto the mall and drove erratically between the Washington Monument and U.S. Capitol. People were just sitting there on the benches and just watching and wondering what was going on. And U.S. Park Police say the driver was arrested and no one was hurt. That driver also seen making gestures outside of the driver's side window. The driver is expected to face charges for this incident. And developing now, a judge is ordering the release of Maryland man Kilmar Abrego Garcia. But the Trump administration says if he is released, he will be immediately detained and deported. Abrego Garcia was mistakenly deported in March, but was ordered back to the U.S. to face human trafficking charges. A hearing will take place Wednesday to discuss his further detaining. Also happening today, advocates are meeting with representatives to discuss the needs of the trans community. As part of Pride Month, Trans Unity Coalition is helping create relationships with lawmakers. And today's event coming as Congress returns to session. Last week, they held a rally outside of the Capitol and a march to the White House to advocate for the trans community. All right, it's going to be a hot week, and if you want to stay cool, DC spray parks and splash pads will be open from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m., and they'll be open all week along with outdoor pools. And if you live in Southeast, just keep in mind Fort Davis Community Center is closed for the summer. Also, the Fort Greeble Recreation Center in Southwest is temporarily closed to the public. All right, it is time to get a full check on your forecast with meteorologist Jackie Layer. Jackie, I know that you're busy. It's a DMV First Warn Day, and it's going to be really hot.
Yeah, very hot out there later on today, and humid too, and that's going to make it feel even hotter than there's actual air temperature. So we do have an extreme heat warning that'll continue to remain in effect until 9 p.m. tonight. That's for D.C., the I-95 corridor, Southern Maryland, as well as back out towards the I-81 corridor as well. We're also talking heat advisories. Those are the areas shaded in orange on your screen. So the extreme heat warning, that's for areas where we could see heat index values up to 110. Heat advisories, those areas are where we could be dealing with at least those feels like temperatures nearing 105 degrees. So we're talking about that with that future heat index for the day today. 105 to 110 is what it could feel like out there later on this afternoon into the early evening. Then as we look ahead towards tomorrow, yet again, another day where it's feeling like it's 105 to 110 degrees. So likely another extreme heat warning will be expected to be across much of the area tomorrow. And actual air temperatures today and tomorrow right around the triple digits too. And as we get towards Wednesday, likely feeling like 100 to 105 degrees. The only difference with Wednesday is the fact that we do see the potential for some isolated thunderstorms developing into the afternoon and evening hours. So be on the lookout for those. But today, tomorrow, Wednesday, DMV First Warn days for that high heat and high humidity, that prolonged period of that. So we're talking about a heat wave continuing through at least Wednesday. Thursday will still be on the hotter side, just not nearly as hot or as humid as what we're going to be dealing with with for today through Wednesday. So in terms of staying safe, you want to stay hydrated. We're going to be talking about that all, or at least for much of the week. Protect your skin, apply that sunscreen and reapply it through the day today, and wear light clothing. Make sure that's lightweight, loose fitting, and also light colored clothing as well. Seek that shade too, especially if you're going to be outside for an extended period of time today. Take regular water breaks in the shade to keep yourself cool. As we look ahead towards Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, we do have this frontal boundary and a system off towards our north. That will be providing some relief in the form of some scattered showers and storms later in the day Wednesday, also later in the day Thursday, as that frontal boundary will be close by. Thursday afternoon, tracking some scattered showers and storms. Friday, also seeing that as well, as that frontal boundary will be close by. As we look ahead towards the weekend, we are going to be seeing some shower and thunderstorm chances too. Also keeping those temperatures back into those lower 90s both weekend days. You still want to stay weather aware Saturday and Sunday for those outdoor plans because of those thunderstorm chances. So just a reminder about that. But at least temperatures won't be nearly as hot. So we're starting off the work week. It's still going to be a hotter side though, with those highs in the low 90s.
All right, we're seeing triple digits. Be careful. All right, so the National Zoo says they renovated the giant panda outdoor space to keep the pandas cool in the hot weather. Zookeepers installed air-conditioned grottos and misting sprays in the outdoor spaces. And zoo experts say pandas have a hard time in the hot and humid summers. That's because they're used to the high altitude forest where it's a lot cooler. All right, it's wedding season, and we've got some budgeting tips for honeymooners and vacation seekers, but all the planning can be overwhelming. Laura Hutchinson with our sister station is helping you stretch your dollar with some money-saving advice.
After you say your I do's and have the best day ever, newlyweds often go on honeymoons, a vacation to celebrate the new marriage. But what's the best way to plan an affordable and unforgettable honeymoon? Start by planning early, at least 6 months out.
I think if you're doing that, you're able to think about, what experience do I want to prioritize? What's my budget? How much do I want to spend?
Paul Ritchie, Chief Executive Officer at Best Egg, says planning can save you money and give couples time to set a realistic budget and explore deals and discounts.
Look for deals or look for packages, and make sure that you're not scrambling at the last minute and having to maybe eat some of the higher cost alternatives that are only available in the last minute.
He also recommends prioritizing what experiences you want to have.
Whether it's snorkeling in the clear blue waters of the ocean, and maybe in order to do that you would have sort of a lower budget for dining or something like that, and really trying to make sure that you're getting the experience that you want.
Also, leveraging your wedding registry and creating a honeymoon fund is a great way to allow guests to contribute to costs like flights, accommodations, or activities instead of the traditional gifts.
I think back to my own wedding and registry, and you sort of pick things to fill out the list and end up maybe not using all of those things that you get. It's much better to have maybe that money go towards the experience that you want for your honeymoon.
Above all, remember, communication is key. Focus on sharing your ideas and celebrating the marriage.
All right, with this week's warm conditions, it makes cranking up the AC so tempting, but a big electric bill can come with it. The Department of Energy giving some advice to keep those costs low. And with your thermostat, they say pick up your starting point. So pick that starting point, then increase it by 7 degrees when you're not at home, and then go up by 4 degrees from the starting point when you go to sleep. They say installing a smart thermostat can also help you save money. And if you use a ceiling fan, just make sure it's going counterclockwise, and that helps force the cool air down. And friends and colleagues at DC News Now, celebrating our company-wide Nexstars Founders Day of Caring. It happens every June, where we help with a range of nonprofits and social services agencies. And our crews volunteered at DC Bread for the City, where we also went to Capital Area Food Bank, Habitat for Humanity in Virginia, and Wider Circle in Maryland. And that's all the time we have for you this morning on DC News Now. Just be sure to stick around for more news and weather coming up on the news at noon.